before it became a global symbol of Chinese identity, before it drew millions of tourists or was photographed from space, before even the term Great Wall existed, there were only watchful eyes, rugged mountains, and the constant fear of what lay beyond. The story of the Great Wall of China didn't begin as a wall. It began as a question: how do you protect a civilization when your enemies ride like wind and vanish like smoke? Long before cement and stone stitched the horizon, China was a patchwork of warring states. During the 7th century before Common Era, long before the first emperor, regional kingdoms began to build their own defensive barriers, mud walls, trenches, timber fortresses. These weren't meant to impress, they were meant to survive. In a time where power was fluid and threats came quickly, walls were a statement: you shall not pass. But the dream of something greater, something unified, didn't come until centuries later with one man, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. Ruthless, ambitious, and obsessed with immortality, he wasn't content to just rule. He wanted to be remembered forever. After conquering rival states in 221 before Common Era, he ordered the linking of the scattered walls built by previous kingdoms. The goal? To form a continuous northern barrier to repel the Xiongnu, fierce nomadic horsemen who raided from the steppes. It was no architectural marvel then. The early wall was made of tamped earth, layered and pressed by hand and primitive tools, but it was vast, stretched across mountains, valleys, and deserts. Constructed not just by soldiers, but by peasants, prisoners, and anyone deemed a threat to the emperor's will. Hundreds of thousands were forced into labor. Many died of exhaustion, cold, or starvation. The wall was a boundary not only of territory, but of life and death. They called it the longest cemetery on earth. Still, Qin's wall was only the beginning. After his death, dynasties rose and fell, and the wall evolved with them. Some parts crumbled, others were rebuilt. The Han Dynasty expanded the wall westward, guarding the Silk Road. During the Tang Dynasty, it was neglected for a time. Diplomacy worked better than bricks, but danger always returned. And so did the wall. It was during the Ming Dynasty, nearly 1,500 years after Qin's reign, that the wall became what we recognize today. Following a devastating invasion by Mongols in the 14th century, the Ming emperors committed to something far grander than the emperors before them. They didn't want a rough earthen mound. They wanted a wall that would stand forever. Stone foundations, brick fortresses, guard towers placed like chess pieces along the ridgelines, signal fires to send messages in minutes across miles. Entire communities lived near and within the wall, maintaining it, defending it, depending on it. It wasn't just military, it was cultural, a spine along which Chinese identity could rest. And yet, the irony? It never truly worked. The wall could slow invaders, but not stop them. It could mark borders, but not always hold them. The Manchus, who would go on to establish the Qing dynasty, passed through it. So did traders, spies, and refugees. The wall was a tool, not a guarantee. But maybe that was never the point. The Great Wall was never a single wall. It was a network, an organism that grew, adapted, and transformed over centuries. Over 13,000 miles of barriers were constructed across time, built, rebuilt, and fortified by different dynasties with different visions. Some portions lay crumbled, swallowed by desert or jungle. Others still rise defiantly against the sky, testaments to endurance. Imagine standing on one of its high, narrow watchtowers during the Ming Dynasty. The wind bites through layers of armor, and the horizon stretches endlessly jagged stone ridges, sandy hills, pine-covered slopes. Smoke signals curl into the air, a code passed from post to post. Riders gallop below. Merchants inch their caravans along the narrow passes. Behind the wall, the relative safety of farms, families, and cities. Beyond it, uncertainty. But to say the wall was only military is to miss the truth of its soul. It was also about control, not just of enemies, but of people. The wall defined who was us and who was them. It guarded ideas as much as borders. During the Ming Dynasty, it served to restrict not only invaders, but migration, trade, and even thought. It symbolized strength and fear. And yet, it inspired. Poets wrote of it. Painters sketched it endlessly in scrolls. Scholars debated its merit, and emperors glorified it. To some, it was the bones of China, a divine dragon curling across the earth. To others, it was a wound, a monument not of unity, but of sacrifice. For every brick laid, a back was broken. For every tower built, someone's son never came home. Even so, it endured. By the 17th century, the world was changing. The gun had rendered the wall less relevant in warfare. The Qing dynasty, ruled by those who once lived beyond the wall, expanded China's borders so far north that the wall was no longer a front line, but a relic of a different strategy. Slowly, maintenance declined. Nature crept back in. Some sections became quarries for villages needing stone. Other parts were swallowed by time. Yet the story wasn't over. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, China faced humiliation at the hands of foreign powers, opium wars, colonial concessions, internal rebellion. As the country fractured and modernized, the wall became something new, a reminder of what once was, of what could be again. When foreign travelers and archaeologists began exploring China in greater numbers, they found the wall and were awestruck. Western explorers marveled at its scale. In 1907, William Edgar Gile, an American adventurer, walked large stretches of it and published photographs that stunned the Western world. The wall was no longer just a Chinese monument. It became a global mystery, a marvel, a wonder. In the 1930s, even as war brewed again in Asia, Chinese nationalists began invoking the wall as a symbol of unity and resilience. And when the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, the Communist Party made the wall a part of its cultural identity. Without the Great Wall, Mao Zedong famously said, "There is no China." But here's where it becomes something even more powerful. The Great Wall, despite centuries of war, erosion, and neglect, became a symbol of peace, not because it kept violence out, but because it reminded people of what it cost to fight. It stood not only as a wall of defense, but as a mirror reflecting ambition, fear, courage, and contradiction. In 1987, UNESCO named the Great Wall a World Heritage Site. Since then, China has worked to preserve portions of it. Millions walk its stone pathways each year, breathless from the steep climbs, awed by the scale. Some parts are pristine, restored to majesty. Others are rugged, barely visible beneath shrubs and sand. Tourists today may not realize they're walking different centuries. A few steps can take you from Ming-era bricks to Han-era earth to Qin-era dreams. The wall is not linear. It is a timeline carved into stone. But even now, myths surround it. Can it really be seen from space? That's more legend than fact. Astronauts say it's barely visible, without aid no more than a thread of shadow. Still, the idea persists. Because in a way, it doesn't matter if it can be seen from orbit. What matters is that it can be seen through time. From emperors to farmers, generals to poets, warlords to philosophers, the wall watched them all pass. It has seen peace and bloodshed, dynasties rise and fall, beliefs change and return again. More than just a wall, it always was. The Great Wall was not simply a matter of bricks and battlements. It was a living, breathing force that shaped Chinese culture and history in ways beyond the imagination of those who laid its foundations. It inspired not just fear and reverence, but an enduring sense of belonging. For many dynasties, it was a divine boundary between the civilized world and the unknown. For those who lived beyond the wall, the nomadic tribes and raiders of the steppes, it was a line drawn in defiance, but also fascination. Over centuries, the wall became deeply entangled in China's mythology. The story of Meng Jiangnu, a young woman whose husband was forced into labor to help build the wall and later died during construction, became a national legend. When she learned of his death, she traveled to the wall and wept with such sorrow that a section of it collapsed, revealing his remains. The tale echoes the grief of countless families whose loved ones vanished into the toil of forced labor, never to return. It also hints at the emotional burden this massive project placed on the people. A structure built to defend also became a monument to suffering. Still, no matter the pain behind its stones, the wall continued to serve as a unifier. Its reach extended into the philosophies of Confucianism and legalism. It appeared in ancient Chinese literature, in imperial art, and in the education of scholars. It was taught as proof of China's greatness, the will of an eternal nation written into the mountains. When the Mongol Empire rose in the 13th century, led by Genghis Khan, even the wall proved no obstacle. The Mongols did not scale the wall as much as move around it, through weaknesses in politics and people. The Yuan dynasty, a Mongol-led empire, ruled all of China, and during this period, the wall was neglected once again. It was a sobering lesson. A wall, no matter how strong, is only as secure as those who stand behind it. The Ming Dynasty understood this truth all too well. When they eventually overthrew Mongol rule, they made rebuilding and strengthening the wall a priority like no other dynasty before. Massive resources were poured into fortifying the northern frontiers. This version of the wall was smarter, stronger, and more strategic. It followed natural mountain ranges, zigzagging dramatically across northern China. Brick and stone replaced older earthworks, and watchtowers were spaced out for visibility and communication. Beacon towers used smoke by day and fire by night to relay urgent messages about enemy movements. A network so effective, a warning could travel hundreds of miles in just a few hours. This was the wall in its prime. It wasn't just a military line, it became a symbol of advanced Chinese engineering and planning. Some fortresses had garrisons of thousands. Water wells, storage rooms, and living quarters were integrated into the design. Entire towns grew up around these stations. The wall became a line not just of defense, but of life, bustling with activity, trade, and culture. But even in its glory, flaws remained. Corruption crept in. Some border generals made deals with enemy tribes. Supplies ran thin. Harsh weather battered the wall. And then came the 17th century, and with it, the beginning of the end. The Manchus, a powerful people from the northeast, began to rise. At first, the wall held. But history has a cruel habit of repetition. When the Ming Dynasty crumbled due to rebellion and internal weakness, a Ming general Wu Songui opened a key pass in the wall to let the Manchus through, hoping they would help suppress a revolt. They did, and then seized the capital. The Qing dynasty was born, and again, those once kept out now ruled within. It was the ultimate irony. For all its grandeur, the wall could not stop betrayal from within. Still, the wall endured. While it faded from military relevance, it never lost its symbolic power. During the Qing dynasty, attention shifted away from the wall. Border policies changed. The empire expanded beyond it, but the wall remained a fixture of the Chinese imagination, a sleeping dragon coiled across the mountains. In the centuries that followed, China faced modernization, colonization, and revolution. The wall saw it all, weathering storms, gunfire, and time itself. When China struggled against foreign powers during the Opium Wars, the wall stood silent. When the Boxer Rebellion erupted in 1900, it stood still. When the Qing Dynasty fell in 1911 and the Republic of China was born, the wall remained crumbling in places, revered in others. Then came the most devastating century of all, the 20th. Wars, invasions, and revolutions scarred China. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945, parts of the wall became battlegrounds. But even then, it was not the wall that defended it, was the people. The wall had become more of a symbol than a shield. After the rise of the Communist Party and the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the wall's meaning transformed again. The new regime was skeptical of imperial symbols, yet Mao Zedong knew the power of myth. In time, the wall was reclaimed as a national treasure, not as a fortress of feudalism, but as a monument to Chinese perseverance. In the 1980s, as China began opening to the world, it saw the tourism and cultural potential of the wall. Restoration projects began. Sections near Beijing were rebuilt and beautified. It became the centerpiece of postcards, travel posters, and school textbooks. Children learned about the Great Wall not just as a historical barrier, but as proof of their nation's unbreakable spirit. In 1987, UNESCO recognized the Great Wall as a World Heritage Site. It was declared a wonder of the world, a place that every human should see, not only to marvel at the engineering, but to understand the human story behind it. A place where sweat and stone had mingled into legend. Yet not all of it could be saved. Many stretches, especially those in remote areas, continued to deteriorate. Centuries of erosion, looting, and neglect had reduced parts of the wall to rubble. Farmers reused its bricks for barns. Sandstorms swallowed towers. Nature reclaimed what emperors had once commanded. Even now, preservation is a challenge. Protecting a structure that spans deserts, cliffs, and forests is no easy task, but the effort continues. Because the wall is more than heritage, it's identity. To walk on the wall is to walk through time. Each stone bears witness. Each step echoes 1,000 years. And for the Chinese people, and indeed for the world, the Great Wall remains a reminder that while kingdoms may fall, while borders may change, the human spirit can carve permanence even from impermanence. In the 21st century, the Great Wall of China stands as both a tourist attraction and a cultural anchor. Busloads of visitors, both local and international, travel each day to marvel at its towering stones and snaking ridgelines. Some come for the photographs, others for the history, and still more for the feeling, the awe of touching something ancient, enduring, and deeply human. But for all its popularity, there remains something deeply intimate about the wall. It is a place where silence speaks loudly, where one can stand alone on a misty morning, high in the hills, and feel the weight of centuries pressed gently on the shoulders. The wind that rushes past seems to carry whispers of guards who once stared across the horizon, of messengers who raced from tower to tower, of farmers who labored and soldiers who bled. In some ways, the wall is not just a relic of history, it is a canvas of memory. It remembers the dreams of Qin Shi Huang, who first imagined a line to bind his empire together. It holds the cries of those who perished in its construction, and the pride of those who defended it. It reflects the changing face of China, imperial, fractured, revolutionary, modern, and it carries a lesson that transcends borders. Because all walls, no matter how mighty, are never just about keeping others out. They also say something about the ones building them, their hopes, their fears, their sense of identity, and their vision for the future. The Great Wall has been a border, a road, a monument, a tomb. It has divided cultures and connected them. It has witnessed peace and war, glory and ruin, and still it stretches across the land like the spine of a sleeping dragon. Even today, Satellite images reveal just how vast and complex the wall truly is. Much of it lies in ruins, buried beneath sand or forest. Yet every few miles, a tower still stands lonely and quiet, as if waiting for something. A memory, a tribute, a footstep. In literature and art, the wall has taken on mythic dimensions. Chinese poets through the dynasties described it as a boundary between worlds, between life and death, between man and heaven. Foreign writers compared it to the works of gods. It has inspired films, novels, songs, and more. The very idea of the Great Wall has come to symbolize both strength and isolation, both unity and separation depending on who tells the story. Today, as the world grapples with its own divisions, cultural, political, environmental, the Great Wall offers a mirror. It reminds us that the desire to protect is ancient, that fear of the unknown is universal, that no matter how high or long a wall may be, it cannot replace understanding. Perhaps that is the wall's greatest paradox. Built to divide, it has become something that unites, a global symbol, a human wonder, a shared inheritance. Its preservation is no longer just China's responsibility. It belongs to the world, a monument of such immense scale and significance that it defies any single ownership. As climate change, urban development, and time itself continue their relentless assault, global efforts are underway to protect it, to document it, to understand it. Not just the stones, but the people behind them. In schools across China, children still learn about the Great Wall, not only as a historical fact, but as a story of willpower, a reminder that their ancestors shaped mountains to hold a nation together. That even in the harshest conditions, with the simplest tools, humanity can create something that outlasts empires. But the Great Wall's greatest lesson may lie not in what it kept out, but in what it still lets in. Wonder. To climb its steep, uneven steps is to feel small and powerful at once. To look out across its vastness is to see how humanity once believed it could shape the very earth in its image, not out of arrogance, but out of belief. Belief in protection, belief in permanence, belief in purpose. And in the end, that belief is what remains. Stone by stone, tower by tower, mile by mile, the Great Wall of China stands, not just as a wall, but as a story, a prayer, a legacy, and a challenge to all of us, across all time, to dream that big and to build not just with hands, but with heart. If you found this story fascinating and insightful, please don't forget to like, share, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking historical documentaries.